The headline is the most important section of your website, but so many people struggle to write one effectively that invites customers into a story and gets them to want to keep staying on the page, scroll down, and get more information and buy your product or service. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly the 3 things that you need to do in your headline and header of your website so you get more leads to convert to customers. So think about this. You've done a ton of work, whether that be through paid ads or creating content online to get somebody to finally come to your website. We don't want to waste that time, effort, and energy that we put into that content and having that person come to our page for them to be confused, not understand what it is that we do, and bounce off our page. I'm a big believer that your website should do 2 things. It should make you money and collect leads. And if not doing those 2 things, there's not really a point of having one. So in order for us to make sure our website is doing those 2 things, we've got to keep people on the page. We've got to invite them into a story. And we do that with a really great headline or header section of a website. People are looking for solutions to problems, whether consciously or subconsciously. That's what they're always scanning the environment for, is things that help them survive and thrive, and getting solutions and answers to the problems that they're dealing with. And too often I see a big mistake people make on their headlines is they flood somebody with tons of information that's useless, pointless, unclear, and they do not need. What you need to do in your headline and in the header section of your website is answer these 3 questions. And if you're not able as a customer to answer these questions within the first 5 seconds of landing on a website, you most likely are going to bounce. And you can test this even with websites that you visit. You can see the ones that have the highest conversions and probably the ones that you spend the most time on. You're able to answer these 3 questions really, really quick. And honestly, this is how I test headlines and headers all the time on website. I'll write it, I'll send it over to somebody, and if they can't answer these 3 questions instantly, I know I've got to get back to the drawing board. Here's the 3 questions. Number 1, what do you do? What is the main problem that your product or service solves for me as the customer? Number 2, how is this going to make my life better? Once I buy your product or service, how is my life going to be impacted in a positive way? And number 3, if this is exactly what I'm looking for, what do I need to do to buy now or get started? If a customer is having to try too hard to figure out those 3 things, they're most likely going to bounce. Because if you think about it, that's why they're coming to the website, right? You've ran the ads, you've created a piece of content and drove traffic to this website. If they can't answer those questions, that's the whole reason that they're there. So they're going to bounce and they're going to go move on and find somebody that's communicating more clearly to them. Big mistakes I see people make when trying to create a headline for their website is, 1, they put way too much text on there. I think that your website should be, especially the header section of your website, should be able to be scanned, and you should be able to quickly and clearly read it and articulate the answer to those 3 questions. The other thing that I see is poor image choices. I see they've got tons of images that don't really have anything to do with the problem or product or service that they offer or the problem that they solve. What it is just these really pretty images, and it looks great, but it really doesn't make sense from a visual storytelling standpoint. It doesn't invite the customers into anything, and it doesn't clearly articulate what you do. For a good picture for the header of your website by your headline, I think that it should be one of 2 things. One, if it's a personal brand, I'm okay with like a hero shot or a profile picture or a headshot of yourself. It's like a professional consulting industry or anything like that. But what we really want, especially if it's a service or product, we want happy customers using your product. What are people going to look like after they've gotten success with your product? So now we talked about those 3 questions that you have to answer. What does that practically look like? I'm gonna show you some examples. Full disclosure, I designed these websites, so maybe a little biased. Number 1 is obviously my website. So remember the 3 questions. What do you do? How do you make my life better? What do I need to do to get started? So what is this? What does this guy do right here? Man, it's marketing that works for solopreneurs and small teams. Okay, cool. So it's marketing consulting. How is that going to make my life better? Well, it's going to grow your business and dominate your industry. I don't know about me, but that sounds pretty cool. And what do I need to do to get started? Man, you got to schedule your call. A couple of key things with looking at the header section here of your website, guys. People scan websites and they read them in a Z pattern. So top left is where I always like to throw people's logos. The most important real estate on your website is this top right. This is where people's eyes naturally go to first. So that is where we want to have our main What do I need to do to get started with you? Your main call to action needs to go right up here in the top right of this website. Then it needs to be repeated again. This is personal preference on this one, in the center of the page. I like having it on there twice. And again, with your call to action, we've done other trainings on this and we'll make other videos for this. With your call to action, you want it to be clear, direct, and consistent. I don't want people to come here to learn more information. I don't want them to, I want them to know exactly what I want them to do. I want you to schedule a call. It is very clear. It is very direct and it's consistent. So I use the same call to action all over my website. I don't want to say schedule a call here, then book an appointment here. It needs to be clear and consistent. The other thing is, after they've done that, we want this center section here. This is where you kind of have some freedom to design and do different design elements. But all of that information that we said, what do you do? How do you make my life better? And what do I need to do to buy now or get started, needs to be all right here in this above the fold section. So that's anything before you have to scroll. Here's another website right here. This is a medical clinic. Full disclosure, I designed this page as well. Again, look, it's a telemedicine practice specializing in hormone replacement and functional medicine. You know exactly what they do. Well, how is this going to make my life better? It's going to get back to feeling and performing your best. What do I need to do to get started? Hey, I'm going to hit the get started button right there. And again, in the top right or over here in the middle of the page. And again, we talked about imagery and using the right images on your website. Look at this. It's a happy middle-aged couple right here that looks like they're getting back to feeling and performing their best. They're enjoying life. And happy customers using our products, or for me, with it being a personal brand and consulting, we've got that. Third example that we have right here is a fitness coach I work with. She does powerlifting coaching online. So what does she do? Man, well, I should have asked you guys, what does she do? Hey, look, it's one-on-one custom coaching program. How does it make my life better? It strengthens your lift and your life. And then she's got some other philosophical stuff right here, is you deserve to know what your body is capable of. Man, what do I have to do to buy now or get started? Join my coaching program. Join my coaching program. And you guys can see on those websites right here, it clearly articulates those three things. So on your website, how do you write your own headline for your own personal brand or website? This is what I would do, is I would start by breaking it up into those three sections. Start with the call to action because that's the easiest. So I like to start at the easiest and then work down to the more difficult part, just so we can check off some wins. So number one is start with the call to action. So when somebody comes to your landing page or website, what is the one thing we want them to do? Is it buy now? Is it schedule a call? Is it book an appointment? What do we want them to do? We want it to be clear. We want it to be direct, and we want it to be consistent across the website. So start with the call to action. What do we want people to do once they've come to this website? Second thing is, and this should be pretty easy, what do you do? Do you have a product? Is it an ebook? Is it a physical product like a apparel company, supplements? Or is it service-based? You know, like we saw medical providers, coaches, consultants. What is the thing that you do? The last thing is, this is where we start talking more about brand messaging, is I want you to articulate several statements of success of what your customer's life will look like if they have bought your product, service, they're working with you, and they've gotten results. What will life look like for them? And think about this is like some aspirational identity type stuff. So after somebody uses your product or service, they hire you, they buy what you are selling, what do they want to say about themselves? This is where I would write a couple of phrases down. I would ask clients, that's the easiest way to get your copy, is ask clients, hey, what do you want life to look like after working with me? How would you define success after we start working together? Or what would success look like for you after you buy this product or service? Ask them to help you compile that. Then you will have all three aspects to your headline. From that point on, start plugging things in. You can start doing some wordsmith so it makes sense. What makes a good headline is a clear headline. After you've written something down, send it over to somebody. You can even, if you already have the images that you're wanting to use for your website, send them the headline, send them the image, and then ask them those three questions. Say, hey, what do you think I do? How do I make your life better after you've worked with me? What do you need to do to start working with me? If they can't quickly fire off the answer to those questions, it's time to go back to the drawing board because it is not clear. Remember, we want to be clear. It's not trying to be cute and clever. It's trying to be clear because clarity always wins. I do this and I show it to random people, show it to neighbors, show it to people that don't know what it is you do, and just say, hey, mind if I ask you a quick question? I'm going to show you a website. You get to look at it for 5 seconds. Then I'm going to ask you 3 questions. That will be the quickest split test you can ever do to know if your headline is good or not. So remember, the 3 things you have to answer. What do you do? How are you going to make my life better? And what is the one main thing I need to do to get started, to have this problem solved, to buy now, start working with you? Answer those 3 questions, and then you will have a great headline that starts converting all of these traffics into leads and then lifelong superfan customers. Make these changes, guys. Let me know how I can help you. Have an awesome day.